Welcome to the channel, everybody. So today we are going to be continuing on with the Paragon series. And today we are taking on one of the first real true bosses in Act 7. We're going to take on Gwenmaster here. So we're going to go ahead and get right into this. There is quite a bit to cover here to go ahead and deal with her. She does have some interesting mechanics to her, but honestly, I can talk you through a way to completely override most of them. So let's go ahead and take a look first off at the team that we're bringing in for the path, and then we will go ahead and talk about the nodes and then Gwenmaster herself, and then we'll go ahead and look and see how it went for me. So right off the bat here, we brought in an interesting team. Honestly, the entire team is built around two things. It's built around Nick Fury and giving him as much benefit as possible, and it's built around having Hulk ready for the Gwenmaster fight. Now, when you do get to Gwenmaster, you're going to have two opportunities to swap out champions. These can be very valuable to you. Keep those in mind. We are going to swap out the first one for Overseer so that we can get the reverse control immunity on Hulk. And then we'll swap out the second champion for Heimdall to give us a little bit of extra immortality ourselves. Now, for the path here, the main thing about it is bleed is essential here. Obviously, Nick Fury is one of my best bleed champions. He is also a skilled bleed champion, which is going to be a factor here. We brought in Hawkeye and Captain Marvel movie because they both synergize with Fury and buff him as well. And then we brought in Black Panther because with the Black Panther and Hawkeye synergy, it increases the bleed of all skill champions. So again, basing the entire thing around making sure that Nick Fury is our path guide, and on top of that, that he has as much bleed as possible to do it with. Now on the path here, we are going to be looking at a few different nodes to deal with. First off, you have energy adaptation. Now with that, the defender has a 50% chance of inflicting incinerate anytime that you land a hit against them or they land a hit into your block. So you're constantly going to be having to worry about incinerate, though if they are bleeding, this will not trigger. So the first reason why we wanted to make sure we had a bleed champion. Second node that you're going to need to worry about there is Shake It Off. Now this one, skill champions can purify any debuffs upon them just by dashing back. So if you do happen to catch a few of those incinerates or any other debuffs from a champion upon this path, just go ahead and dash back and you can remove those. Nice thing is, especially with the incinerates, it's real easy to stack up several of them, but if you just dash back repeatedly, you can get rid of them quickly. Nextly, you are going to be looking at shifting immunities. So the defender is going to go back and forth between being bleed and poison immune. So obviously the bleed is extremely important, but you're going to have to time your bleeds in between the times that they are actually immune to poison so that you can get as many bleeds on there for as long as possible. Lastly, they have bleed vulnerability, meaning that as long as the defender is bleeding, you are actually 200% stronger. So that's nice to keep in mind. Like I said, you can see real quick and easy here how it was easy for us to go ahead and build an entire team around Nick Fury and making sure that we were getting as many and as potent of bleed stacks as we possibly could. Now for the path here, you're going to go through Spider-Ham right off the bat, then over to Mordo, then to Red Guardian, over to Annihilus, Mr. Fantastic, Longshot, and then finally you're going to get to Gwenpool, which right before Gwenpool will be your first chance to swap out a champion. After Gwenpool, who has no extra nodes on her whatsoever, you will get a second chance to swap out a champion, and this will bring you into the Gwenmaster fight. Now, she has several things to keep in mind on here. First off, as long as it's still active, you're going to have She is going to have the following masteries: Parry, Willpower, Limber, and Mystic Dispersion. She will also have ISO Fanatic, meaning if you have a 15 hit combo or more on for yourself, she becomes unblockable. If that combo is still active at the time that you remove one of her plot armors, you will lose the entire combo, but she will take 1% damage for every 10 hits on that combo that is removed. She also has cooldown to destruction, which reduces the timer on the cooldown to destruction timer, but it actually boosts your attack. That is a mixed bag one as well. Band-Aid, if she has that one active, most of these are going to be active, depending, obviously if you take this path, you're going to have one of them down, but the rest of them are going to be active. Band-Aid, after she gets knocked down, when she gets up, she is going to have a regen on her for 15 seconds, though you can remove that regen just by landing a hit against her. Lastly is Juiced. Now, this is the one that I know some people recommend just because of the fact that it can boost your champions by quite a bit. What it does is it increases the attack of your champions by 300%, but it does decrease the damage that she takes from plot armor by 100%. Now, I can understand why this is one that's removed often, but at the same time, it's not the one we went for, partially because that path is a little difficult to go down. I really do think this bleed path is so much simpler to go down and easier to go ahead and get to her. Now, the last part about her kit that you're going to have to pay attention to is she has 6 plot armors. You have to, by removing the plot armors, you can actually get her to do damage to herself. But the thing about it is you do not have to remove all 6 plot armors to actually defeat her. So it is not a bad thing to go ahead and get her health down as low as possible and then remove whatever plot armor you're on. You can actually end the fight that way. Now, the 6 different plot armors are based around the 6 different classes. First off, she's going to have Emma Frost's leggings, which does give her those inverted controls, which is why we wanted to have Hulk available to us. Also, on top of that, in order to deal with that, what you're going to need to do is dex a special one of hers while she has 4 or more Fury charges on her. We'll talk about that a little bit more. It's going to come into factor quite a bit in how we actually get her down. Next will be Killmonger's Necklace for the skill class. This one's fairly simple. She has all you got to do is land basic attacks or knock her down to remove 60 charges. Once you get those 60 charges down, she'll instantly get an SP2. Trigger that off. That's going to go ahead and hit her instead of you because you removed the plot armor, and then you're on to the next one. Next one is Invisible Woman's Wedding Ring. Now, this one, she's going to have the Invisible Woman shield that you're used to. And once you get that shield off of her, then you've removed the plot armor, and you can move on to the next one. Next is Doom's Hoodie for Mystic class. Now, this one, you do have to knock her down using a heavy first, a special 1 second, a special 2 third, and a special 3 finally. If you do them in the right order and you get all 4 knockdowns, you can then turn around, remove that plot armor, and again, she's going to SP2 and take herself out. Then you're going to get Arcus's Cape, knock her down while having 10 or more armor breaks upon you. Now, if you're up close to her, you're not going to build those, but if you get away from her, you're going to get a timer going that are going to build up armor breaks on you. Just get up to 10 and then go ahead and knock her down, and you'll remove that one. The last one is Iron Man's Aviators. Now, you're going to need to remove 6 armor up buffs off of her. If you get those down, you remove the final plot armor, and by that point, she should pretty much end herself. But, as I said, you don't necessarily need to work your way through all 6 plot armors to win this, and I will show proof of that as we get to the end. So let's go ahead and get in here. Like I said, right off the bat, we are going to be looking at the Spider-Ham fight. Now the path nodes here, most of them, most of these fights were fairly quick, fairly simple, not too much to them. The biggest thing was trying to make sure we were getting the bleed stacked up. Obviously, with these higher health pools and higher abilities on them, sometimes that does get a little bit more difficult, especially with that shifting immunity. But you can see here how we were almost down with Nick Fury, almost ended up going into the true Nick Fury form, and we were able to get a couple stacks of those bleeds on him and went ahead and took him out altogether. Now, trying to avoid the true Nick Fury form for as long as possible, we did go ahead and heal up before Mordo. We're going to do very similar to him. Unfortunately, he is going to be the one that is going to trigger our true Nick Fury form. We're going to go ahead and get quite a bit going here. The problem is that with Mordo, there's so much that you got to avoid. You can't parry him because then you're going to end up turning around and risking that idea of the counter on that. So you're trying to plot it out just fine so that you're timing in between the poison immunity and making sure you're getting the bleeds in there. And it's very easy to do what we just did there and push him up to an SP3. And then once you take that to the face, for most people, that's going to be all that they wrote. But luckily enough, of course, with Nick Fury in here, an SP3 while he's in LMD form is not going to be enough to take him out. But that second SP3 almost was. But we were able to go ahead and finish him off. We healed up for Red Guardian in spite of the fact that knew we were going to instantly start degenning because of the poison off of the LMD being removed. So it was going to be one of those things that we were going to eat up quite a bit, but we wanted to make sure that we had that little extra there just in case we made a mistake. Though, as you can see there, we really didn't. So we went over here to Annihilus. Now, Annihilus did catch us because, unfortunately, I got too many stacks of Incinerate on me and didn't get them removed quickly enough. So it did eat into us quite a bit really quickly. But we went ahead and revived, came back in. Like I said, we're going to stick mostly to Nick Fury throughout all these fights, and he does pull it off for us. Obviously, if we could have had him in LMD form, still all the way through Annihilus here, I think we could have probably won and done this. But Annihilus is not necessarily our ideal fight for what we're looking at here. But at the same time, like I said, we are finishing him off right there. Now, we came up here to Mr. Fantastic. Now, this one honestly was not a big deal. We had class advantage. Obviously, we did take that at SP1 to the face. But at the same time, we returned one back to his. So that wasn't really too big of a deal. You're going to see here, we are going to teeter on low health the entire time. But at the same time, we just chunk away his health, and it's not really a big deal. The only one that I am going to struggle here on is going to be Longshot. He is just honestly a royal pain in my butt. But that being said, I do have him leveled up myself because as much of a pain in my butt as he is, he can definitely be that much for somebody in Battlegrounds. Plus, on top of that, his animations eat up so much time that it is another way to cheese the match by having him eat up the timer so they don't get as much time. We did go ahead and bring in Hulk against Longshot here, in spite the fact that we weren't going to be able to have the advantages of being able to shrug off those debuffs, which does end up costing us. Because, we were a lot lower health than we needed to be. We may have been able to take that SP3, but it definitely didn't happen for us. So we brought Nick Fury back in and then finished him off quickly there. Moved on to the first champion swap. Like I said, Overseer for Black Panther, and then we switched out Hawkeye for Heimdall before we got up here to the Gwenmaster fight. So Hulk was gonna need to be the biggest part of getting this first one down. Now, the thing about it is the information that I originally found said that you only needed to have 3 of the Furies built up. Now, the way you're going to build up those Furies, and you're going to want to watch out here because you'll see, never push her to the SP2 until you're ready, or else it will hurt you. What you're going to want to do is SP1 her, or get her up to her SP1, apply, do an SP1 of your own so that you have less power than her, and get her to go ahead and do an SP1 towards you. Then turn around, rinse and repeat 5 times. You'll get all of the Fury charges on her, and you'll be able to get rid of that. Now, as you can see here, we didn't do that the first time. Didn't do it the second time. And I got warning for you guys, we're not going to do it anytime in the next 5 or 6 times, to be truthful with you. But what I was realizing is unlike the Grandmaster fight, where if you screw up his puzzles, you're getting very little off of him. You're not able to do hardly any damage, and you're probably really honestly just getting frustrated. I started noticing real quickly here that in spite of the fact of how big her health pool is, we were still significantly eating away at that. So I figured, worst case scenario, we'll just keep going. This was originally supposed to just be a test run. But we were, like I said, we were doing fairly decent at it. I was trying to figure out the mechanic on that first plot armor, trying to figure out why it wasn't working. You'll see, I believe it's this match is the first one I actually get 3 full charges on her right there. There's the 3 charges on her, so I'm figuring I'm good. Now I just got to get her to trigger the SP2, and oh no, that didn't work. So I'm confused. I'm not knowing what's going on here. So let's go ahead and try it again. Again, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to get up to an SP1, knock her down with it, go ahead and build her most of the way back up, let her do her SP1, dex that, continue to do it. Now again, we're up to 3 again. And again, just took me out there. Still not understanding. Now, the funny thing is right there, you just saw it on the screen, special one with 4 paralysis. I have no clue why the information out there was saying 3. I don't know if it's been adjusted since the time that the information was originally put out or what, but it is 4. You need to have 4 of those paralysis charges up or it will not work. Now, I will let you know that completely and totally honest with you, I didn't read that on the screen at the time that I was doing it, which is why we took another SP2 to the face, and I said, screw it, whatever. Let's go ahead and just get her most of the way down, and then we'll figure out how to deal with these plot armors. So this is where you'll see I just started baiting on her fight after fight after fight, just trying to get as much of that health pool down as possible. Now, mind you, if you remove the plot armors, what she does to herself is significantly more than what you're going to do to her. So that is the easier way to do it. The long way to do it is to beat on her until you get that health down to 10 or 20%, and then worry about trying to remove the plot armors, which is pretty much what we ended up doing. It did cost us a lot more potions and revives than it would have if we could have removed all 6 plot armors within just 2 or 3 fights and been able to completely and totally remove her from that element. Now, do keep in mind this: if you remove a plot armor during a fight and then go down before you're able to take her down, that plot armor does stay removed from fight to fight. Like I said, we're just going to continue to beat on her quite a bit here. We've got her down to 72%. You're going to see that I'm going to, for the most part, just use Hulk. When I start using other champions is when I'm finally like, screw it, whatever, let's just get the damage in. Let's use the whole entire team. Figure out who, if anybody can do more damage to her than what I'm doing consistently with Hulk. Now, obviously, that was going to be a problem in itself because, of course, if we've got Hulk in there during the Emma Frost phase, we are 100% okay. But if we don't have Hulk in there with the Emma Frost phase, then we get hit by inverted controls. And if we get hit by inverted controls, I don't know about you guys, but I start making mistakes. And I've made them on inverted controls more than a few times. So it's nice to have that immunity there where you don't have to worry about it. You're going to see here, right there, we are down to Overseer. Just going ahead and trying to do whatever we can to get through this. It's not necessarily going well, but we went back to Hulk. Original plan, not a problem. It is definitely what we were working with from the get-go. You can see here we've got her down to 66% health, so we've got her a third of the way down already, and she has done nothing to herself. Now that makes a huge difference because, like I said, she could do a lot more damage to herself than you're going to do anyways. But, again, between the Heimdall synergy and Hulk's just raw power, we went ahead and decided we were going to bully our way all the way down to the point that we had her almost dead, and then we were going to go ahead and figure out how to get those plot armors off. Honestly, at this point, it probably should have been the point that I called it and said, I know this was supposed to be a test run, but we're having issues. We know we can get through the path. That's not a problem. Let's go ahead and walk away and come back and study up a little bit more. But I decided not to. Honestly, partially because I'm a glutton for punishment, partially because, well, I had a very large supply of revives and potions, and why not go ahead and take her while we are already at her. So this continues on for a few more fights. We are getting close to the fight where I figure it out, and I really do want to talk to you guys about the actual nodes themselves a little bit further. It's unfortunate that we go ahead and take so much damage in these fights and waste so many resources of potions and revives. But again, it was just trying to feel it out. Like I said, originally this was supposed to be just a test run, but we got so far. Like, I was honestly shocked when I got to Gwenpool, and I had to pause for a few minutes and decide whether or not I was going to continue on or not. I decided to go ahead and continue on. Not a big deal to do, but at the same time, I don't know that I was quite where I thought I was on it. You can see here she's going to eat Nick Fury alive. Unfortunately, the problem is that anytime she did anything that triggered the inverted controls, I absolutely forgot what I was doing and screwed it up, and that gave her too many openings. But we are eating quite a bit of the health down there. You know, we're down to 50% of her health. And we're still, you know, chipping away. And it's going to continue to be one of those things that we're going to chip through. No, we're just going to take her down little by little here. You're going to see this one's going to be a lot of our damage here. We're already down to 47%. Turn around, bring Hulk back in, just keep bringing her down. Once we get there and start figuring out what we're doing is, you know, she goes by really quickly because we did all this pre-work. Now, like I said, doing it this way, and especially if you're not doing it with a truly high damage dealing champion or a champion that can outlast a lot of the issues there, you're going to run into some problems because it is going to eat your wallet really hardcore. But at the same time here, you can see right after this, you know, we're down to the 40% range, and we're trying to be very careful. Like I said, we get her built up to the SP1, we set off ours, we back off and try and get her to activate hers so that we can get the charges up. Now we're up to 4 already, and we're going to go ahead and back off. But the problem is that we took a hit first, and that made a difference. So we weren't backing off the way we were supposed to when she threw it, which means we turned around and caught that. Now, this is the time that we made the difference here. This is where we're going to start removing some of these plot armors. Here is the first one. This is, as I said, Emma Frost leggings. 2 prowess charges to start with. Get that SP1 in there, get her up, let her get almost up to that SP1, get her triggered so that she can do that, bait that out, and then go back in. Now we're up to 3, and here is 4. Now we have less health, we have less bars of power than her. We've got her up to that. We dex that, and that is what we needed to do. Now she turns around and takes the damage instead of us taking it, and we're on to the next plot armor. This one, 60 charges, like I said. Just go ahead and pound on her. If you knock her down, you take off 3 charges. Landing a hit takes off 1 charge. You've got 60 charges to get down. As soon as you get all 60 of those charges off of her, then again, you're going to trigger that SP2, and we're going to go ahead and see it take her again. So we're almost there right now. You can see down to 35 charges. Just continuing to go ahead and pummel her. Got to throw that SP1, knock her down, takes her down to 25. Nice thing is we can juggle quite a bit here, which is going to eat up a ton of those. We're already down to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the plot armor is removed. Back off. Wait for her to fire off that SP2. And again, she takes the damage, not us. Now, we're to the shield phase for Invisible Woman. Now, this one is plain and simple. Just remove the shield. Beat on her until you get it done. Now, we weren't able to do it with Hulk because we were so low on health there as it was. But we went ahead and brought in Nick Fury because he didn't have to worry about the inverted controls anymore. And we started eating away at those shield counters. If you faced Invisible Woman at any point in time, you know that it does take a little bit to get those shield counters off of there. But the more you punch on them, the less they exist. And eventually that shield drops. You can see here we're already down to 7. And it's gone. And that gave us the chance that she turned around and set off that SP2. We already had her health so low that it only took removing 3 of the 6 plot armors for her to go ahead and end herself and give us the go to move on to 7.3 and to be halfway through becoming Paragon. Obviously, we have the end of the level deals. We've got the rewards that we got, and there it is, folks. All of Act 7.2. At least one run done, and we are on our way to the next part, 7.3. I hope everybody's doing great. I hope this information is really useful to you. Like I said, one of the things that got me caught up was I was focusing way too much on having to get those plot armors removed instead of worrying more about getting the damage done on her. If you get most of the damage done, you can turn around and get those plot armors off on your own and not worry about getting all 6 of them. From what I understand, the Tony Stark one is not easy anyways. So if you can get her down low enough health to the point where you can do it off of any of the other ones, I think the Killmonger one is really simple. I know the Invisible Woman one is really simple. The Emma Frost one does take a little bit of practice, but again, is very doable. You watched us do it. The other 3, they get a little more complicated, a little bit more on the timing. So if you can get her down, if you can get her health all the way down and then start working on those first 3, I think you'll go ahead and take her out without a problem. Now, that one does conclude this one, and we're going to go ahead and continue on the Paragon series. Later in the week, we'll have another Cavalier video out tomorrow, and then we'll go ahead and have our live stream on Sunday and a crystal opening on Monday. And I hope you guys are able to join us for any of those, all of those. And while you're at it, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already. We are over 500 members on the channel, and I am so excited, guys. We are continuing to grow the channel. definitely shooting for that 1,000 subs goal. So if you guys can contribute to that, I appreciate it overwhelmingly. If you have already, I appreciate you so much. And I will see you guys back for the next one. Peace out.